Good afternoon, East Coasters, good morning, West Coasters, and good evening everywhere else in the world. Welcome to this race for the Adamant Cup group round between Elvensorrow and Nightdew. I am Ent, and today we'll be joined on the Restream team, doing the Restream by Scala Kitty, doing the tracking Black Ice, and on commentary Neon. How are you doing today, Neon?
Not bad, not bad. Up bright and early for at the crack of 1 o'clock my time. Whoo boy! Really excited to see this race here. We've got Nightdew versus elvensorrow, both some great runners. And as these objectives often are in this flag set, I think we've got a really interesting set of them.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me in this flag set when you get both the rat tail and pink tail objectives, particularly, because I feel like you basically want to turn those in at the same time, but also no adamants is not on in this tournament. You get a free adamant armor when you turn in that pink tail. And that's a possible interesting decision point. You know, if you get that pink tail early and you don't have the rat tail yet, do you make that trip right then? Or do you try and wait and sort of combine the two later on?
Yeah, like that in particular is a very interesting question of priorities too. I also always love seeing launch the Falcon in the objectives, just because that too, on a magma key, any kind of magma key seed, that brings up a really interesting question too of when you do that long hike down through Eblan.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is actually a pretty low set of key items required to get through these objectives, too. You only need that hook, the both tails. I mean, I guess you need both the Legend Sword and the Adamant, so a lot of these are end of chain things, too. So this could be a very fast seed if there's just one long chain, or it could be a very long seed because you have to get to the end of all those chains to get some of these terminal key items that we have here.
Yeah, like, obviously in this case, you know, our critical key item here is going to be the hook, just because that is triple required by objectives alone, and that's just not saying how much else is behind that hook. And, wow, like, this flag set will sometimes just stack so much on a single key item sometimes. I've seen sextuple required single spots.
Yeah, definitely. And out of all of the possible objectives that could require a terminal key item, we're really only missing the package too. So we might be in for a bit of a long race, and I like that in these flags because I think it changes what you're looking for too. In some of these flags, if you think you can get away with a faster race, then it's going to make you play it a little bit differently than this one where you know you're going to be in it for the long haul in all likelihood.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I like seeing from that is just what it does to grinds, because it's very possible for a set of objectives to straight up, oh goodness, what a party! Kane and Edge at the start. The pass is of no use to us this second, but it does mean that I think it's theoretically possible, highly unlikely, but theoretically possible, that the moon is completely haunted.
Yeah, that's gonna definitely be something on the mind of our runners here because again, you really don't need to go to that moon today. And I think that also sort of changes things. You mentioned level grinding too, and to me what I've seen a lot with these flags is because we have the 7 required objectives, you have to go through all of these. Often you'll get a moon objective in there. You don't really have to level grind. But the other thing about these objectives, too, is that the hardest bosses on that list are probably the hook route bosses and the sealed cave boss. You don't have the summon spots, you don't have anything else. So if this lays out exactly right, this could be a very, very quick seed that might actually require an actual grind.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, too, because, you usually get your XP along the way. And that free key item there, that Murasame, it's not a key item, but don't care. That will money can be exchanged for goods and services, and Murasabes can be exchanged for key items.
Definitely, and most importantly, also seeing a boomerang here in this sort of side treasury, so that'll be a good way to back row glitch that edge immediately. This edge is going to be very strong throughout this seed, I think.
Yeah, Murasabe in hand, all of that. I'm seeing chat calling for the Eblan play. I have extremely mixed feelings on Eblan, but you know what? If you're gonna loot that, this is the seed for it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's one of those ones where you kind of have two different ways that you can think of Eblan Castle. You can either think, okay, I'm very powerful early on, I can make myself more powerful right now. But you might also think, if you're thinking that, you might also think, well, I'm pretty powerful right now. I don't know if I need that right away, and you might consider holding off. So it'll be interesting to see what our runners do around that, as it looks like Nightdew might be heading for Baron Inn.
Yeah. Again, immediately leveraging that Murasabe. I like that. Yeah, and it's Mylon and friends, which means the flame will just clear the fight out entirely.
Definitely. I'm seeing elvensorrow heading over to Damsian, looking like he's not going to go over into that little side treasury here, just going to raise the hovercraft, which you're going to have to for the seed anyways. That hovercraft is also triple required. And hey, you're going to have to pay for a cutscene for that Rosa as well, it looks like, over on Nightdew's side.
Still, I love this for the early play. That's paying off in spades, just because, you know, split hit points, and there's no XP on this spot, so there's no penalty in terms of your levels either. So it is a little more time-consuming, but frankly, this spot this early is always time-consuming, and this is one of the fastest things it could have been.
Definitely, and I think it's gonna be very interesting because this seed also feels like one where this early routing is going to make a very large difference. And I think that's true for every seed in this particular flag set, but in this one especially, how you're using that power that you have behind that edge, that you have behind that cane, and that you have over on Nightdew's side behind this Rose is going to be big. Oh, there's a magma key.
That's so good, yeah. Like, great find. Because, yeah, you're right. And the other thing, too, is the thing I see watching people run these seeds is that small decisions early, they absolutely just magnify throughout the game.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing that doesn't get talked about quite as much with 7 out of 7 objectives, is that you look at the long length of the seed, and a lot of that tends to make you think, okay, this is going to come down to execution, because you're all going to be doing the same things. It's just going to be down to who can do them quickly. But there is actually quite a bit in that early game that's going to matter. When you stop looting, when you start looting, where you loot, where you go is going to really set the tone for everything. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see, as we see only a siren for Antlion Cave here.
Yeah, that is annoying. Walking out with it, which, fair cop. You know, you've got the early levels, which is great to start, so you don't really want to reset out of your first battle-based key item check. And you'll use that siren, just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly possible that you'll need to do a underground grind in this flag set. It's not, again, like we mentioned earlier, not likely, because you're probably going to have one of your key items gated behind that moon. But if you don't have to go behind that moon, although over on Nightdew's side, hey, there's some sirens and shops, so that might not even matter anymore.
Yeah, well, here too is where you talk about decisions that balloon, and Assassin Dig are right beside the shop, but that'll make for immediate leverage on those sirens. He only picked up, like, I think 3 or 4 of them. Probably planning just to get some immediate bootstrapping on the levels.
There's also some drain spears there if you want to get some relatively expensive but still fairly good darts to throw out with that edge to get you past some potentially difficult spots. There's really, this seed is kind of laid out in Nightdew's favor to kind of make everything possible for him at this point.
Yeah, like, just going for that Baron in check that early is absolutely huge. And we've got that trap chest located on the top floor. That means the entire Fey March is free for the looting. And meanwhile, Elvensorrow is finishing up with Hobbs, doing the more standard overworld loop. Got an edge for his trouble. Not an edge, a Yang, which, if you're gonna take a Yang on the slag set, now's the time.
Absolutely. If you're going to take Yang, get him early. But I kind of expect that we'll see Yang say goodbye at some point in time as soon as possible. Elvensorrow now heading over to that Baron in check, going to get that Rosa as well. And I think, Yang is good in the right circumstances. I'm not sure if this is anywhere near the right circumstance for him, unless you just absolutely find nothing for that Kayn to use.
Well, I mean, Kayn, Edge, Yang, Rosa is a perfectly good Berserker party. There's a Masamune there, just enhancing that in the free chest. But yeah, again, the Yang is an interesting question, and an interesting, he's very much optional here.
Well, speaking of other good finds over on Nightdew's side, we're also going to find silk webs in the shop, so that's going to be very helpful for any bosses you might want to use those on. Does sell the assassin dagger though, which is going to be interesting. Tells me that he's not looking at using those sirens anytime soon.
Or at least might feel that a jump and a swat with edge will be sufficient to make the kill, which should be. But we'll see how and when he decides to use them. Frankly, I do think Assassin Dagger timing on the eggs is a pain in the butt. So.
And we are going to see that is Baron Guards and Dark Elf down in the bottom of Feymarch. Not particularly difficult things, but Nightdew's probably not feeling the best about selling that Assassin Dagger right now.
Yeah, that is definitely, well. But that said, we'll just have to come back for it. And yeah, it's very doable.
Yeah, and that's definitely just one of those gambles that you take, and it kind of shows how those small decisions can affect things. Like, yeah, if you had the Assassin Dagger, you might be able to sneak through that right now, but is sneaking through that right now gonna do a big difference for you outside of just going through, getting your freebies, and going elsewhere? It does find an exit, which will help when he, I would assume, eventually goes down Antlion or similar, just to get out once he's done, so that'll be a nice little time save for him there.
Yeah, never sad to have an exit.
Never sad to have an exit, and never think to grab one whenever I see it in the shops. Usually my sort of way around it.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, I find that I really tend to avoid shopping myself on these. Like, I'll check gated shops, but, if I'm not directly passing by a shop, it's like, there's so much good stuff in the chests.
Yeah, I think it kind of just depends on what you're looking for and what you're planning on doing with your party. Like, if you're planning on doing a slow anchor and maybe like grabbing a Sid or someone like that and slapping a curse string on, then obviously you're going to need to find that curse string. I could see checking a lot of those shops, but other than that, there's not really a ton that's worth shopping too much for.
Yeah, like, I think about the things that I want from shops. I would like, but don't really need cabins. You're gonna get some tens from your starter kit. Nightdew just straight up not taking the Yang. Yeah, not seeing anything useful there. Prefers the dead slot.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty valid decision, not wanting to waste that time when he's pretty sure he can probably get through that dwarf castle check fairly easily for his next party member that he can grab, or possibly even hit on, that earth crystal, and then you get two shots at a better character than that Yang is going to be. Like, say you find a Fu or you find a Cecil or something like that, that might be worth going for, both of whom are only behind restricted locations anyways.
Yeah. So here's a question. Your Nightdew, you have your sirens already, all the ones you intend to use, and you have the means to get levels. When you get the result of this fight, do you use your exit or do you reset out? Because at this point, the XP isn't super relevant either.
I think you reset out in this particular case and save that exit for something else later, although the list of places where you can use exit in this game is as ever frustratingly small. Really. Ooh, dermatologist job dwarf and a heroine robe. Okay, so elvensorrow finding all the good stuff here in Tomra.
Yeah, love that fight here. Love heroine robes. Now, are we keeping that siren? Yeah, we're gonna take the exit. Might as well.
And just in case you weren't finding enough edge equipment, elvensorrow doing the shopping over here in Tomra, finding ninja swords, but more importantly in the shop, finding coffins. If he has those coffins when he heads down to deal with those Baron Castle guards down at the bottom of Feymarch, then he's going to have the ability to just basically get through that fight completely for free at this point.
Yeah, and with the 4-person party, that's becomes quite easy. You can just bag that out right now.
Absolutely, and you can life glitch one of those, get a nice big chunk of experience, really get you through some of that early stuff, and that might actually end up being a pretty big advantage in elvensorrow's favor if he just decides, you know what, I'm gonna get through this as quickly as possible, and I'm going to take that big chunk of early XP for that early boost. Nightdew, however, heading over to Fabul, and we'll see who this boss is here.
Yeah, and there's our other safeguards, which I don't want to see those here. I want them on a spot with lots of XP.
You want them on the moon somewhere. You want them at the ribbon room. That's where you want them.
Yeah, you want them on a ribbon room that you go to immediately after you hit 10 key items. So, you know, you're like level 35 or so. You leave at level 45. You're good.
Exactly, and then you're like, I don't need these sirens anymore. I found Baron guards instead. Baron guards, like, if you don't have homemade sirens, then, you know, store-bought Baron guards are fine, sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's the pan in Fabul, which makes it very funny that it does seem like, you know, both of our runners were meticulously avoiding the having to check Fabul more than they have to do. But you have to go at least once, at least twice, if you want to follow through with that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of an interesting question with these flags too, is do you bother trying to fade any of those early spots to get an advantage, or do you just go ahead and take all of them? Because if you miss one of those locations, then you're going to have a very, very bad time. Like I have had in a recent seed that I played that I'm not going to talk any more about, but...
Yeah, and elvensorrow finds curse rings in the Feymarch shop. Very nice. But yeah, no, I like the methodology that Nightdew is kind of working here too, which is, you know, it's worth trying to avoid if it's convenient, but... you know, sometimes you just have to go to Fabul twice, or even 3 times.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see what those 2 pan checks are, and that's going to be very, very interesting here, because that could be a big changing point in where you go. Like, if you head right up and you find that earth crystal, for example, I think both our runners, the second they find that earth crystal, they're gonna go straight to Troya, get that treasury, get those 2 character checks, and see what those are. So we're kind of just waiting for that to drop right now, I feel.
Yeah, like that, if it's poised to be gotten in the opening stage of the seed, then yeah, it is definitely very good. And yeah, just, elvensorrow pops those coffins, doesn't fool around, because those are dangerous if you let them be. Oh, and it's the hook!
Oh, that is huge. I don't think it's going to make an immediate difference, but the clock is ticking now a little bit on Nightdew's side to really get through those Baron guards as soon as possible. Obviously, he doesn't know that, but that is a potential really big bonus for Elvensorrow here.
Yes, and give me 1 second with my mic here, since it does sound like it's opening up. I'm just gonna unplug and plug it back in really quick.
And while they're doing that, and while we're sort of in this little bit of double checking things we've seen at this point in time, Nightdew having grabbed the tower key and the twin harp out of the Sheila checks, looking like he's going to go do a grind. Now's a great time to mention again to please, if you are enjoying this race, give both of our runners a follow, as well as our whole restream team, including Scala behind the scenes doing the restreaming and Black Ice doing a wonderful job tracking as well. Thank you to both of them, and of course, thank you to Neon for commentating with me today.
Thank you kindly, and hopefully this helps with the with my sound quality, because apparently y'all want to hear me talk, so let's make sure you can.
As always, I'm kind of interested to see Nightdew taking this grind that early, but it looks like he's going to have to reset out of it, not quite able to take down that first dragon here.
That's always rough, but, at least, at least you remember to save right there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm wondering where he's going to go next from here, because doing a level grind at this point feels a little bit like you have something in mind, but I'm just not sure what that is yet.
If it were me, I'd be thinking clearing the tower right away. Looking at what Nightdew has, a couple levels will, you just want a bit more oomph in your melee fighters to be able to take the tower top fight.
Yeah, that spot is always deceptively difficult to me, because I go up there expecting it to be a lot easier than it is, and no, that spot is not supposed to be easy.
The big trick of the fight at the top of Babil is that it is primarily notable for its hit points. It is one of the biggest, it's like the second most hit point heavy K main check, with only Sealed Cave having more hit points. So it doesn't hit super hard, it doesn't have very good magic at all, but you're gonna be there for a while just chipping it down, so it can easily just attrition you if you let it get out of hand.
Yeah, and Nightdew unfortunately having Rosa drop on that last egg that he did, so that's going to be a little bit rough. Has gotten Rosa to Berserk levels at very least, which will help getting that edge really swinging, really going, which will probably chew through that top of tower pretty quickly. It just needs that little bit of extra, strength to get through it, as Elvensorrow picking up his pan now on that Fabul check.
That's very nice there.
I think that's going to be the next real big divergence here, is what does Elvensorrow do? Elvensorrow checking Sheila 1 before going underground to go that pan, gonna find that tower key, meaning that he won't have that harp yet. Is he gonna go for a little grind himself, or is he gonna just try and head straight through one of those checks afterwards?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting call, checking Sheila 1 with the pan in hand. It's not a choice I would make, but, there are definitely... Just because I like the density of having, all three, the entire pan chain available, it's very dense. But, there's a lot to be said for just, sweeping through, taking that now, and just dealing with, the rest of the pan situation when you're underground next. And I do like people are down on ordeals in this flag set for good reasons. You gotta hike up a dungeon. There's 3 bosses, but you know, I've this has been the case ever since people were saying in ZZ1 that ordeals is bad. I'm an ordeals liker. And as we can see here, as our blue robe so pops up, oh, no, I have good taste, not bad taste today.
Yeah, that's always the moment of worry when you get to the top of Mount Ordeals and you're like, all right, I'm gonna have to get through 3 fights, and you see that blue robe, you're like, oh no, I'm gonna have to get through 7 fights now, aren't I, instead? And it's just great to find the water hag instead there. I don't think there's any check where I see a blue robe where I'm happier to see water hags than on top of Mount Ordeals, honestly.
Yes, well, of course, we've seen Blue Robe 1 on the top of Mount Ordeals, but what about second Blue Robe? That's still possible.
Oh, that would just be rude.
And as Steph Lively says there, brackets is very much going to change the math on whether or not you want to go ordeals, because then it does become just the check you never want to have to do, because removing Cecil from the pool, the other remaining fringe benefit of sitting through all this is getting Tilla online, which even brackets doesn't really need you to go in on Tellas.
Yeah, I kind of find it hard to slot a Tella into a 5-person or into a 4-person party instead of a 5-person party.
I have a hard enough time slotting him into a 5, putting him into a 4, like...
I feel like the first thing that you look at cutting when you go from 5 to 4 is that person in that kind of utility slot, and just trying to figure out where you can get that utility elsewhere on characters is going to make a little bit more of a difference. We're going to see Nightdew going through this Dwarf Castle check, though, finding that Young and finding a Palom behind it, which could be particularly useful as long as you can get that levels early.
Yeah, but... Like, you can get Quake really fast with Sirens, but it feels bad to go back. And that's just a package on top of Ordeals. So, right now, Elvensorrow hopes to find a Holy Sword, hopes to find a Cecil to make this worthwhile. Or a Fu for boss count.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on who's behind that package at this point, how that Ordeals is shaping up, and it's always interesting when you have those moments where you're like, all right, one or the other of these is going to pay off, and I'm not going to find out for now anyways. And I think when you've done Mount Ordeals, you're kind of committed to checking that package and trying to get an advantage out of it, so I kind of expect we'll see him go there next.
Yeah, like, I don't like checking the package, but also it's kind of a case of, you know, how sunk do you consider this cost?
It's a big question. We're about to see this key item check over on Nightdew's side, though, and it looks like around Luca's neck today is that Sand Ruby, so that is an objective on Nightdew's side once he decides to go back above ground for it.
Oh, yes, it is. So that's a nice find, and we'll see if there's anybody good there. Or if it is indeed the old man.
Yeah, I think a lot really just depends on both of these players converging around that mist area and seeing who their respective characters that just possibly got for it are. Elvensorrow is going to go up and check that package at this point, and we're about to see who's in that bed.
Oh, that's Cecil there. Does Nightdew, I think, will take that, and just a Sid at the package.
Yeah, I kind of don't think that you want to bother with Sid unless you're looking for a possible anchor, and honestly, the money that you would get off of that anchor or the time that you would possibly gain off of that is probably not going to make up for sitting through that package, so
yeah, no,
we're not going to see
that. Just the power level of this set does not mean you need that heavy duty of an anchor. I assume Nightdew is just going to head straight for Ordeals now that he's got the Cecil.
Yeah, and I kind of think that with adamant armors on the table, that it's almost better to go with a sort of fast anchor setup for Z anyways, because you're going to get that plus 15 agility onto someone. Let's say you put it on that edge, who I don't think is necessarily going to be the best option for it, but just bear with me on the theory here a little bit. You're going to make up the agility difference that way instead anyways, because you're always going to have that plus 15 somewhere.
Oh yeah, and like Edge in particular in Adamant armor, at endgame levels, just from high level seed completion, it's very possible you're running an Edge at agility par with Zorovis. And if you have never tried that, I highly recommend you at least see how the 69 or 70 agility anchor feels, because it is smoother than common wisdom would think.
Well, elvensorrow going up this hook route, only going to find Iridia here, which, hey, if you want to find a slow anchor, why sit through a package for Sid when you can just have Iridia sit in the Tower of Wishes and then bring her along for a boss fight later, so that's going to take care of that there. It's going to see that Sparkle, though, on the hook route, which I really like to see in this thing where a hook route is required.
Yeah, but as a player, that's the sort of reason why I don't come here until I have to. And yeah, he's just gonna take the Iridia and, oh no, he's pressing forward.
Well, I suppose now's a good time for it if you think you can get through it, because you have just picked up a very good anchor for getting you through this hook route, and that edge is very strong on both sides anyways.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably a wise play if you've already committed to running down Cave Eblin, as long as these bosses don't pose too much of a problem.
Yeah, like this fight is going to be winnable. If you're already down here, I don't like leaving. So yeah, follow through on the play. Good call on that.
I'm trying to think of who could be a particularly obnoxious Sparkle boss to find here. And I'm kind of thinking that as much as, Ogo Pogo and Wyvern are the big names, even like a D-Lunars here could be potentially quite annoying, where you're dealing with Edge who's trying to swing through both of them, because those counters are going to hurt really badly.
Yeah, and like as I say, don't discount the rudeness of D-Lunars at Rubicante. That particular boss at that spot is why we have Lunar Frog strats. It's a pain in the butt to deal with, but so yeah, and that Baigan is also a pain in the butt to deal with.
What is it about the Launch the Falcon objective that just seems to attract annoying hook routes in this particular randomizer out of curiosity?
Well, the hook route is baseline annoying, just because, it's two relatively challenging bosses. It's got a long hike in and out. You can't easily bail. It's I am once again begging you, put off your unnecessary hook routes. Put off your hook routes that if you don't have to do to get underground. And the Grimoire, hit point based Mist Dragon.
Well, I think this comes down to how quickly Edge can swing through all of this health at this point in time, and I'm not convinced that he can get through this quickly enough, and I think we might end up seeing a wipe here. He's going to dart that ninja sword, hopefully just do enough damage to get through it, but this is looking a little bit rough right now.
Yeah, like this. Oof. Hook routes are bad. If you could... Common wisdom for a normal hook route is to make sure you're strong enough to do it easily. If you're in a hook route that is later, and you're basically unfettered in terms of how strong you can be before you do it, go. Do leg day first.
I think that's kind of another interesting little thing to think about here too, is that this could also just be a calculated risk it could be that elvensorrow is not as confident in getting through this particular match as well, and might just be thinking, I should take a risk to try and get a bit of an advantage. And I think that sometimes doing something like this and checking that hook route character and hoping that hook route character is worthwhile, you kind of are already committed and you want to go further. I think that might be what's going on here.
Yeah, definitely.
Meanwhile, though, over on Nightdew's side, we're going to see getting through these Eblin Castle trap chests, both to get a bit of experience onto this Cecil, as well as maybe see if we can get a crystal sword for him, or possibly an adamant armor.
Yeah, like, this is your best chance in this phase of the game to really get that Cecil online weapon-wise. So yeah, this is what I like seeing the Eblin play, when you can take these bosses, or these trap chests. Though that only being an apple is not what you want to see.
Well, a crystal ring is nice for a bit of bonus agility there. So that's a little tiny bonus, you kind of find a backup, hey, this is neat, I guess, thing in one of those chests. And it's going to come down to these other things here.
Yeah, no, I do love a crystal ring. Like, it is one of my picks for one of the best items in the game. You can't say best in a game where there is adamant armor, but, it is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. You get dragon defense, you get the extra agility. It's really nice defensively. Can't go wrong with the crystal ring.
Yeah, it's worth noting, elvensorrow on the second attempt over here at Baigen, it's looking a little bit more stable for him this time. He might be able to get through this a bit easier. Gonna keep darting at that actual Baigen, and down goes actual Baigen. And now we're just gonna see cleaning up these arms and see who that Sparkle is.
Yeah, nicely done. Not too much time lost to the wipe there, so... And it is time that Nightdew is just using for strengthening, so you know what? If elvensorrow can take advantage of the actual progress instead of spending time looting, that'll be pay off great for him.
I think that we just saw the downside to
Never
not
mind.
going looting, though.
Well, it was a seed with potential challenges that we had here once.
I think that Nightdew has made some very, very smart plays here and just going here, and he's just not even going to bother, I think, looking for that third trap chest. He's just, you know what? I found my crystal sword. Goodbye. I'm going underground.
Yeah, and there's always the nagging thought that, oh, what if it is an adamant armor in there, but in the last chest, but also, you know what? Don't bother. Don't bother. And D-looters here, annoying, doable, annoying.
It's one of those ones that feels like it should be easier than it actually is kind of things, is what I usually find when I find D-luners at an inconvenient location. I'm like, oh, it's only D-luners, and then I smack them a couple times and they light me on fire. I'm like, oh no, it's D-luners.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Yeah, it's so easy to think of them as a joke boss just because they're exploitable, their scripts are exploitable, but sometimes you don't get much of value from exploiting their scripts.
Well, speaking of some hidden value here, though, Nightdew finding that Keinatsu in the super cannon room, meaning that he's not going to be at one of those possible moon spots that might be gating something further on down the line. So that's one of those things that's good to know, that he's just not going to be lurking around the next corner here.
Yeah, love seeing the turtle in a spot where he's just out of the way.
Fortunately, it does get rid of the possible turtle at Sealed Cave annoyance that I was kind of hoping for, but there is always something like Odin at Sealed Cave that can be a bit obnoxious as well.
Yeah, I like Rubik Kante at Sealed. Yeah, we are doing the frogs here. the most original flavor of lunar frogs. So from here, the fight should easily collapse into place. Just gotta get Kane back up, get him swinging, and we'll be through, no problem.
Yeah, and I mean, this is time done on Elvensorrow's side. He'll be right there at that tower if he wants to swing through it afterwards. Finding Mom Bomb at the top of it, though, you thought this spot had HP before.
Yeah, this is a pain in the butt place for Mom Bomb, just because, you know, a really big late game spot with hit points, the extra hit points become kind of irrelevant. Here on this earlier spot, the extra 9k hit points are actually a significant addition. So it's kind of always a toss-up if you're gonna see the baby bombs or not.
Yeah, he does at least have Rosa for Blink if he chooses to go that route, or Berserk if he chooses to go that route, and definitely going the Berserk Cecil, because sometimes the Blink is the friends we made along the way and the Crystal Swords we swung along the way, and that seems to be the philosophy here at this point.
Yeah, like this spot does not physically hit hard enough that we need to sandbag with Blinks. Like, you can see, she's hitting hard enough that we do need to keep an eye out, but it's not something where, it's not a fight where your Blinks are keeping you alive.
I'm not sure, honestly, once Nightdew really gets the levels to back up the gear he has, there's going to be too many fights that are going to be necessary to have Blink to survive at this point. Elvensorrow through that hook route, gonna see that Mom Bomb. I'm interested in seeing what he does here, because that Mom Bomb...
Oh, Darkness Crystal.
Ooh, that's an interesting and spicy thing. Do you go to the moon with all of these non-moon based objectives?
Yeah, and this is dangerous for Nightdew because, you know, right now I'm in a position where I'm like, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, that's one where you're starting to think, you know, can I get to 10 key items on the moon and get a bunch of delicious moon levels? Which would drive him away from that Sand Ruby at Asura.
Yeah.
Or the hook at Asura, sorry.
Absolutely, and that might be Elvensorrow's ticket sort of back in. He's a little tiny bit behind right now, not massively behind, I would say, unless there's just something hiding along the way that's going to be really, really important, but that might give him the advantage to make up that time.
Yeah, I will say right now Elvensorrow is behind, unless Nightdew heads straight to the moon, in which case Elvensorrow becomes in front.
And unless Elvensorrow heads straight for the moon as well, I guess at this point, that's also a possibility. It looks like he's gonna head down, or Nightdew's gonna head down to Tomra, do a little bit of shopping. I don't know. It's really just going to depend on where he goes from here, and he's sort of in the driver's seat for the seed right now.
He's about to see these coffins, which, again, if that's me, that's what makes me think, okay, those are coffins, I'll just knock out the free boss of the Fey March before I go. And that could be huge.
It could be, especially if he thinks he can get through that Dark Knight spot with that Crystal Sword, with everything that he has going on with, or not Dark Knight, Dark Elf.
Yeah.
That's definitely a possibility that he could just do both of those while he's here, and it looks like he's heading that way.
Yeah, like this is like the routing decisions Nightdew is making just on a moment-to-moment level here. Like I want to explicitly call these out here because I think they're just fantastic analysis of his situation and where to go here from each as he gets more information. I am just really liking seeing the thought process he's displaying here.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those situations where it's not even that like Elvensorrow has been making bad decisions as much as just incorrect ones for this seed, which just, you know, it's rando, that's gonna happen sometimes, and that's kind of something where he just needs something to play out in his favor at this point. You know, maybe he finds that darkness crystal and heads to the moon immediately, and
Yeah.
Nightdew stays on Earth and does harp into who knows what. We'll end up seeing there, because that could be another big divergence here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, because with this, once Nightdew has the hook from this, both of our runners are basically on even footing. They've got the same things open and available to them. So again, like elvensorrow is himself playing a great game here. Like his own methodology too. Again, it's really solid. You're seeing him finding different tools in the seed and taking different actions because of it.
Yeah, and I think that's worth noting is that, you know, you look at how much health that Mom Bomb spot has, and it kind of becomes a good metric for how strong your party is, how quickly you can chew through that health. And elvensorrow's fight there did not feel significantly slower than Nightdew's, really. It almost felt a tiny bit faster to me from those extra levels that he's picked up along the way. So
Yeah,
he's not really missing that Crystal Sword Cecil right quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, like he swept through that fight easily. So, you know, as easy as it is to talk about ahead and behind and how they are making different decisions. The fact is, we've got some very similar levels of progress through the seed. So this is what you want to see in a race. You know, you've got two different, very skilled runners making very good decisions on the basis of what they see in the seed, and they're different decisions, and they're both paying off. Like, this is what you want in racing.
Yeah, and I think this is potentially a good little sort of thought experiment of, does Crystal Sword Cecil just win you races? And in this flag set, I don't think it does, because the thing is that Crystal Swords are great and all, but when everyone is hitting like a truck, it kind of starts to lose meaning versus when you're like really starved for good damage.
Yeah, and again too, it depends on the seed. There are seeds that will be won by a Crystal Sword Cecil. This one, you know, we've got, you know, you can still ramp up your damage as it is.
I think the big question is, what does elvensorrow do with the information he has? He's going to head down to Sylph Cave, get those 2 checks out of the way. We know one of them's only a Moon Veil, and the other one is the Sand Ruby for objective number 1. What Nightdew gets out of this is going to matter a lot, because elvensorrow is a bit less incentive to go back down that Fey March, because he only has 1 check down there.
Oh, that's required, and it's an adamant.
That is a very bad thing for elvensorrow's side, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
like, you want to
elvensorrow
talk
might think
about
he can
things
get
that can
to
make a
that spot.
huge difference in a seed. Putting that adamant on that Cecil with that crystal sword. Because, again, how likely is it that you go back there? You know that fight is pretty trivial, but you've already been there twice. It feels really bad to go down a third time, so you're kind of placing all your chips elsewhere, I think.
Absolutely, and also an interesting little thought in chat too is, you know, Adamant Sword, Crystal Sword Cecil does kind of win races. Is there a situation where you might consider putting that Adamant armor elsewhere and consider having, you know, 2 really strong swingers instead?
Yeah, and that is absolutely something you want to consider. I think if you've got the Edward with the spoon, that's something where Edward will see more benefit from having an adamant armor's worth of multipliers than the other. But other characters too, depending on where their levels are at the time, you can easily get greater benefit. And plus two, like early game, a mage in Adamant will just that will solve the first half of your game. The other thing too is I don't think you should be afraid to move your Adamant armor around. You do get that nasty weakness from it. But you know, you keep that in mind. You take that into account with how you do your strats. Otherwise, there are fight-to-fight decisions where your Adamant armor positioning will make a difference.
I think right now the real big decision as well is Nightdew deciding to go for this moon and continuing to fate that heart. And if Elvensorrow decides to take that heart, there are things that heart could be that could potentially be a problem for Nightdew. At this point in time, we're a Luca Key, an Earth Crystal, and a Rat Tail away from go mode. If any one of those is behind that harp and Elvensorrow does it first, and then, finds the other two things on the moon relatively quickly, the Forge Bits as well. I forgot about those for a moment. Thank you for the correction, Ground Flyer. That could be a big thing, because at this point it's kind of looking likely that one of them might be behind that heart, just because you still need a lot right now.
Well, I think we're mathematically at a point where there has to be value on the moon. Just looking at checks consumed relative to checks available. Yeah, Adamant going straight on the Cecil. Anchoring off a dead Pelham now. Poor Pelham.
Yeah, I think the only situation in which you could possibly have, not required moon is if you had, either Earth Crystal or the Luca Key into the other that leads into Baron Key with one piece of Forge on the throne and one piece of Forge at basement. Or, I guess that still leaves the Rat Tail out. So yeah, no, the moon is required at this point.
Yeah, and, even if everything does fall out the way you're describing there like that, I am comfortable banking on that not being the case. Just because that's a lot of things that need to line up really perfectly. Delicious moon wine. And Nightdew walks in, orders all of the wine that they have, and makes sure that the Hummingways know that does not mean a lot of wine. It is all the wine that they have.
Yeah, and they'll grow more wine. They moved to this nice place out here in the Moon Country to just have a nice quiet life on their little vineyard, making their moon wine. A nice little family business. I really respect that, because that seems like a nice peaceful existence.
Yeah.
But
Nightdew for supporting small businesses.
Exactly. They may be out of wine, but they'll make more wine, and you know what? They can maybe buy, some nice pressing equipment for their wine at this point, because doing all that by hand it's tedious.
Yeah, just get some new bottles of Chateau de Pillow for it, and yeah.
Exactly. And speaking of interesting decisions on the moon, Nightdew has headed down K Value and is going to take this Magus Sisters fight.
This is fine, but you don't like it.
I feel like that Palom is pretty much just there for anchoring at this point, so getting him knocked down immediately is really kind of just saving a turn. This could be a rough spot, but I think it depends a little bit on who your two Berserkers hit, because at this point in time, you're kind of just like, you know what? Fusoya, take the wheel, and we'll just go through here at this point.
Yeah, this is not a physical attack forward spot. You do get some taps from the bosses, but by and large the threat is magical, and if you're gonna fight a magical boss, this is a good spot for it. Elvensorrow trashing the Cade to take that Cecil.
Well, I'm wondering if that Cecil is going to make him go over to Evelyn Castle and try and find a crystal sword out of those chests. And I think it's one of those things where that seems like a good possible decision to make, but I don't think elvensorrow can afford to make it at this point. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, like, if I were him and I wanted to bank on a holy sword, which, you know, we've got forge required, I wouldn't. I would be more looking to popping chests you pass by on the moon.
Yeah, I think
that'll have the same result. You're as likely or more than to get a holy sword. Oh ho!
What do you do if you're Nightdew and you just found an Arc Crystal here at Cave Value? Do you go back right now because it's a convenient time to go back and go through those checks, or do you just say, you know what, I'm on the moon, that's very unlikely to finish me the seed, I need to keep going? It looks like he's choosing keep it going here.
Yeah, it is an interesting question with this set of objectives. Yeah, because, you know, you want to minimize going back and forth on the moon, obviously, just because that's a long cutscene. The more times it goes on is the worse. But you're also not invested in the moon dive yet, so if you're gonna do an immediate bail, that's a place you want to get it from.
Yeah, that's a kind of interesting possible situation here if we get, if elvensorrow goes to the moon, finds that Earth Crystal, he could head for it. But it looks like elvensorrow is going to go for that Twin Harp, and this could be a big decision now that we know exactly where that Earth Crystal is.
Yeah, like, in general, I like prioritizing K-main checks, but, you know, as we well know, K-Magnus is a time investment. Everybody loves to hear the music, and we're all really excited for music. And the harp emojis are coming out, which I'm very happy to see. Keep them coming. But as a tactical decision, you know, this flags it makes you do this check so often. I'm always happy to see one where you won't make you do it.
I think that's just kind of the nature of these high completion objectives too. We're gonna find Moon Vow, which is not the most fun Vow. I think this one's physically hittable, so it's probably gonna be fine. And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, like, she's physically hittable anywhere on the moon. I think this spot is... Let me just pull up my good old reference material.
Well, I think that question might have to wait because I think we're about to hit heart time here.
Perfect timing. I can look that up while we listen to music.
Well, you know, sometimes you gotta have the Link to the Past randomizer show up in your... So, oh, that's a white shirt. That's unfortunate for elvensorrow.
Yeah. Someone called Xenocat. There's still Zelda music in the pool.
Yeah, and again, shoutouts to Xenocat and Calm Lamity for their contributions to the Heart Pool. Xenocat's been doing most of the recent stuff. Calm Lamity, I think that one was one of Calm's contributions to it. So again, shoutouts to both of them for wonderful work and making sure that we have that, which is definitely my favorite Easter egg in the game, not to sleep on the other ones, but always a delight to see. Meanwhile, over on Nightdew side, only getting a Moon Veil for that Val.
Yeah, and from what I can see of the numbers, it's not a great spot for her, but you can do worse. Unless, of course, Vel at that particular spot is notable for one major tourney upset, where we have seen runners run into that with a mage party and just have that be required, and just straight up lose for that. So not, that's a Vel with teeth, but not so much on this flag set, or we do have the melees.
Well, speaking of things that could unfortunately have teeth, if we don't get this Cure 3 off onto this Cecil, yeah, this Dark Knight is gonna be a wipe here on Nightdew's side.
Still, not really too concerning. It's pretty normal to get a wipe on a Dark Knight Cecil. You're right next to a save, you're fine.
Yeah, it looks like he's just gonna go ahead and go through the other spots, come back when he has more HP, and is gonna find Plague here, which this is not gonna be particularly difficult either. You can just raise up that raise up or just Berserk and probably jam the Q.
Yeah, like this is his agility is set up. He's not gonna have any problems. Just Zerk up, and this problem will solve itself. Like I normally talk about fast agility anchors. Plague is built to bite you if you are going fast. And that's why he's actually really hard in the vanilla game, because a lot of the time. Because you're going in at levels to clear the moon.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. He's the only real boss that has that kind of inverse way about him. I mean, obviously other ones are always going to mess up your agility no matter what, but he definitely is particularly notable for that.
Yeah, I think, Plague is just a really interesting boss from a game design perspective, because... with the way he works, you can really tell that, he really interacts with how you're playing the game, and he is calculated to give you a hard time. Oh, that's required.
That's required, and a glass hat is always nice too when you're dealing with these moon bosses still, because you can just, pop that right on your Rosa, and she's basically not going to worry about physical attacks anymore for the rest of the season.
Yeah, very nice find there. And looks like elvensorrow is going to pop the hairdryers, which is another chest with a really high potential value. If you just want to make a quick check, you can easily take it. Remember hairdryers, you can get good stuff out of that. And the odds are good for you.
Yeah, I mean, a crystal sword dropping out of this hairdryer chest could be, the swing that at least gets elvensorrow back into a better position in the seed. I don't think it quite makes up the time that he's behind Nightdew right now, but it will definitely make this more competitive at the moment. Because right now, that crystal sword Adamant Cecil is doing a lot of work to just keep compounding Nightdew's lead.
Yeah, like there is nothing for you like that power on a single character.
Yeah, definitely. It's difficult to come from behind in that sort of situation. And again, this sort of goes back to what we were saying earlier. One of the most important decisions you can make in this flag set is where you loot. And while this seed is not really a foregone conclusion, although that rat tail is showing how much value can be on this moon after we went on about how much value could not be on this moon. It's a big thing.
Yeah, very exciting. And what was in that chest?
I missed it. I looked away because I saw the rat tail. I'm like, uh-oh, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, the rat tail was too shiny, too ratty. I hope it's attached to a really cute rat, because rats are very good.
Rats are amazing. Rats are very, very underrated animals. Apparently it was a ribbon according to our tracker Black Ice. Thank you for the shout out on that. Ribbon, very useful. Definitely another thing that you can just pop on that Rosa, and then you got 2 immune to status effects if you find a Golbez well, actually, elvensorrow doesn't have the adamant armor. But, you know, you find a Golbez, that can leave you an extra character alive at Golbez sort of thing. So that could be something that plays in later.
And I swear, I've seen this Mist Dragon down here a lot lately. Maybe she thinks, since she doesn't have a key item on this flag set, she just wants to go to Ogopogo's vacation home on Lake Okanagan and try and avoid all these adventurers who keep coming for her. Oh, Elven noping out of the Mega Sisters. That's gonna be trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's another one of those decisions where it's easy for us to sort of look where we know what's behind those Maga Sisters and say that's the wrong decision. But it is a good decision for where elvensorrow is here, because those Maga Sisters could be nasty, and he might as well go clear the other stuff. And
yeah, he's not kitted out for it yet. They will rip him a new one. It is not a decision that will, if he clears it immediately, It is not a decision that will present him with immediate progress, but it is a decision that will keep him from getting caught up on a boss that is just gonna cloud on him. So, yeah, it's great situational awareness on his part.
Definitely. It is a bit unfortunate, though, because that was sort of one of the major outs for elvensorrow at this point, where he could have hit on something that would kind of give him a bit of an advantage and possibly make up some of that lost time. If he'd have hopped through those Maga Sisters, gotten the Earth Crystal, and headed down early, then he might have incentive to bail on the moon early if it leads to the right things. But, you know, with how much value is on this moon, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, at this point, this D-Mist, we're getting to a point where there's decent odds that she's a Zonk. I think still, the odds still favor, checking it, but, you know, this is, a decent chance of being a fair bit of time sunk on a fight. That is not helped by having a Crystal Sword Cecil. Well, not hugely helped. It's still relevant damage, just not that's skewed. But it's a lot of time, and the odds are decent that this will be nothing.
Yeah, D-Mist is not a difficult boss, but it is like the most annoying thing that you can find here that's not difficult, in my opinion. Because you have this setup where you have Rosa, Cecil, and Edge, and you just want to berserk them and have them hit things. You cannot berserk on D-Mist unless you want to be taking a nice vacation midway through your seed here. So it's just going to be a very slow and tedious encounter, unfortunately.
Yeah, like the Mist, like you could berserk. The Mist is not a threat. It will not hurt you. It will not kill you. But it will kill you by making the fight take forever. Again, if you haven't ever tried to berserk through Mist at a high hit point spot, I recommend that you give it a try just to see how long that takes. So that's a Baron Key. That's very interesting.
Baron Key is good, and honestly probably the last place both of our runners are going to go. I could see Nightdew even doing Heart before doing Baron Key, should Baron Key contain something there. So that's going to be a thing that might be a problem. If that Baron Key is holding that Legend Sword exactly, or holding that Lucas Key, then that's going to be really the only time that we'll see that Baron Key come into play, I think.
Yeah, hard to gauge, because when you are balancing out how long it takes versus how long Twin Harp takes, You know, they're pretty similar, and doing Baron immediately exposes another check behind, so I think I prefer Baron to Twin Harp. But it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, really.
Yeah, it's really difficult to say, and it is going to depend on what's behind this Crystal Sword altar as well. I think it's pretty obvious at this point when Nightdew gets through this particular check, he's probably going to go for Earth Crystal and Rat Tail before anything else. Do your objectives, get those done. He still needs to do the hook route at some point.
Yeah. And yeah, now that you mentioned, we've got the Harp, Earth Crystal, Baron Key Trifecta, which is a beautiful routing loop where each check just drops you off at the start of the next one. So we're quite likely to see that. As our tracker says as well at the same time.
I think it kind of depends on what you think is important and what you're going to get out of these. Like, say you get the Luca key out of this and you know that you only need the Legend Sword to complete the seed, you might be fairly tempted to maybe even do like hook route into doing Luca key and then just go for that Earth Crystal, because there is no guarantee that that Harp is going to do anything. We know ahead of time, since elvensorrow has done it, that it's just a white shirt. There's no guarantee on that Baron Key. There's guarantee that that Earth Crystal might have value, and I think that might cut into that convenient routing thing a little bit, just through sheer force of it's an objective.
Yeah, but either way, in that case, I think it's Earth before Baron, and Earth into Baron, if this isn't Luca Key, which we'll see what it is. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, we still have that Rat Tail to turn in too. That's also worth noting. So that might also be Luca Key too. I think there's a lot of different routing choices you can take. I don't want to say they don't matter, because they still do. Every wasted check is a chance for elvensorrow to catch up a bit of time. Yeah. But it's a very interesting set of situations here, and I'm not sure it's going to matter too much.
Yeah, like here, we're kind of at the point in the seed where the most load-bearing decisions have been made. You can absolutely make or waste time at this point, but right now we're into stylistic preferences with how you route from here, I think.
Well, it looks like Rat Tail is the next thing, which kind of expected a little bit. Nightdew's been playing a very freebies and otherwise focused game here.
Yeah, he's prioritizing fast checks first, and that's the Luca Key, paying off in spades. I
think you do hook into Luca at this point here, because you need to do that hook route eventually. You might as well do it right now while you're right here.
Yeah, we're doing Earth first, looks like. Again, I don't think this is a right or wrong decision here. I do like what you were going there with, taking that hovercraft right there. And I do think it is a minor mistake to not drop that hovercraft off right now, because you're gonna need it at Eblan, but again, that's not gonna be a huge make or break decision, I don't think.
Yeah, I do think this kind of blows up the Baron Castle into or afterwards decision, because I think you have to go for the Luca Key next. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I no longer care about Baron after getting that Luca Key. And as Broadflower points out, you do, if this pays off into Legend, you do get a very neat, efficient bundle of routing, following that hook route.
There's a lot of different little moving pieces into play here. Ooh. Finding a Golbez, that's never fun.
Yeah, in no way a threat, but hope you brought a lunch.
elvensorrow, meanwhile, getting to this plague fight, getting through it, not really having too much trouble with any of these moon bosses, and really, it's kind of a little bit nice to not have a particularly difficult moon today.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty chill moon on the whole, and I kind of like seeing that in these because it really gives our runners a chance to show how just quickly they can get through some of these things, and that plague is already over.
Yeah, very nicely done. Yeah, it's been a really unremarkable moon. It's not too hard. It's not trivial. You gotta work for it, but it's not super time consuming, which makes all of these time consuming bosses that are so backloaded really great for Elvensorrow, just because, you know, Nightdew does have an obvious lead here, but, you know, he's still gonna sit there and sit through all this. So that's time that Elvensorrow can use to just go through the rest of these checks as fast as he can.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is going to end up coming down to that Zeromus fight, too. Yang holding Yang hostage here, apparently, which is interesting.
I'm so sad we don't have another Yang. I'm so sad we don't have the original Yang.
Yeah, they should just kept him in the party, you know, cycle over to him for the comedy.
Yeah, this is why that Yang was a good take originally. And there's discount old man. Nobody cares. We have old man at home, apparently.
Well, that must mean that, you know, strong grandpa is either in Baron Castle or behind a giant, so there was probably not a world in which we were going to see him today.
Yeah. Let's see, who else? Oh, hello there.
Wyvern is a boss.
You'll love to see it, folks.
Oh, where did Nightdew last save?
Oh no.
Oh no.
I don't think he's picking that Artemis bow back up.
I think this is
that is great for Elvensorrow.
Unfortunate decision, but a good lesson for everyone watching at home. Remember to always save, because you never know where Wyvern's gonna pop up, and a mega nuke is a mega nuke, no matter where you find it.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. With Wyvern unaccounted for, you definitely want to save after doing your first boss in Zot. Oh, that's too funny.
You know, a bit unfortunate, but he's just going to dust off and head straight back over here, pick up that Luca key again from that rat tail, and then at least know to not go up the Tower of Annoyance without saving midway through, given we have Golbez into Wyvern, which...
That's an ugly Zot.
And to answer a question real quick from chat as to what's with the objectives, our runners need to complete all 7 of these objectives in order to get the crystal that they need to use to beat Zeromus and win the game. So they are just required objectives that our runners have to get through in order to beat this seed today.
Yeah, and as far as it goes, our objectives have been pretty interestingly spread out throughout the seed. A pretty decent mix of them being underground or on the moon. We have everything but the Legend Sword location known, but we've exhausted most of the checks in this seed, so we're gonna come up on that Legend Sword soon.
Yeah, I think there's only 4 left on Nightdew's side. This Earth Crystal, the Luca Key, actually 5, but we already know one of them. Only 4 that we haven't seen on stream. And then the 2 Baron Castle ones.
Yep. And yes, as chat does point out, it is a time loss to save, but sometimes you really want to make that not have that time loss. And yes, Nightdew saving before the Golbez.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things though where I'm a bit like, I've done that before where I'm like, you know what, I'm so strong right now, I'm just gonna roll over the rest of the seed. I don't have to worry about anything, forgetting that there's a wyvern there because I'm just so caught up in that moment. And it's a really understandable little mistake to make though.
Oh yeah, like no, you know, the vast majority of players have done everything that have done that sort of thing. It's a very common situation, which is why it's so funny, I think, because we've all been there. Um, I will say too, it is things like this. Consider tracking your bosses that you've seen, because that can really help you gauge whether or not you can safely YOLO a spot like this. If you know you've got Wyvern loose and you're chasing down blind checks, it's worth it just to be a little careful there.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that's one of those things that it happens to you once and you become hyper aware about saving. So I don't want to go on about it too much because I don't want to make it seem like we're ragging on Nightdew here. It's one of those friendly jibes about it here.
Yeah. Yeah, like, no, it's just a thing that happens. We've all done it. There are ways you can plan around it, but frankly, that's never stopped it from happening to people, and it's just the fact of life of free enterprise.
Well, elvensorrow all blinked up, getting through this Demas check here, just continuing to plug away on this moon here. Haven't really had too much to talk about on his side because he's just been getting through these checks very, very smoothly and very cleanly. So has not really led to a lot to worry about over on his side. And that's probably going to help him quite a bit, if not just because there might be a couple instances where he's like, okay, I got to get through this Maga Sisters yet. I'm not feeling great about this. Knowing that the rest of this moon is just going to dump the XP on him, I think he's going to be a lot more confident when he gets back there.
Yes, because you definitely want to take those Maga Sisters. He'll have the levels for it once he pops back up for it. And yeah, like he's making very good use of his time on the moon. Like he's doing well with this.
All right, take 2 on this wyvern here. We're going to see that Star Veil come up on Cecil, which means that this fight is essentially free. Just needs to swing. It doesn't even need to swing. I thought this spot had more than 9999, but I was apparently wrong.
Oh no, this does not have all that many hit points. It's less than the Mega Sisters. I think it's like 7,000. And, at these levels, we don't really care if that edge lives or dies. It's not gonna do anything for him, so yeah, just use the one Star Veil and done and done. Very nice, very clean.
Yeah, really only elvensorrow needs to worry about experience right now. He's still not quite at that point where he doesn't need to worry about like nerfing a big bang or anything like that to get through the second one cleanly. So he is in a pretty good spot. That is a spoon for the Earth Crystal, a good dart, and not much else in this case. So we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I don't hate having it just because, I had to do the check and I can make use of it, so. And yeah, now we're gonna do that hook route on Nightdew's side.
Yeah, and this is one of those you might as well sort of things. He's going to go down there, find that D-Lunar, and Beigen on the hook route. Which,
yeah, he just got a cloud on him.
If you were seeing how difficult it was before and you ever wanted a good demonstration of, having a bunch of levels is the strategy for getting through a fight, you're about to see it here.
Yeah, like, I think we're just about to get a flawless showcase for why I will always say, if you don't have to do a hook route now, do it at the latest possible moment that you need to, because the hook is not gonna go bad.
Yeah, we're gonna end up seeing this Rydia and Sparkle here get through this little bit of cutscene. Elvensorrow is still on this demist fight, which just unfortunately, like we mentioned before, not pleasant to get through. Very, very long at this spot, but probably gonna be through it very soon here.
Yeah, like it's a very safe fight, but there's just no good way to shorten this. Not with your main DPS being Cecil. Just because the Mist Dragon is of course quite resistant to holy magic. Absorbs it when it's from a spell, halves it when it's a weapon, and it's just not good. This is a fight where, say, a Spoonwort really shines because he's not hampered by the damage type.
Spoonward fears nothing except being too low of a level and getting hit once.
Yeah, but oh well. Every character's got a downside.
We are going to see the Sparing Key picked up on Elvensorrow's side. Gonna head back up to that Crystal Sword altar next, I believe. I don't think he's done it yet.
That's the other reason why that was taking so long too. He still had his battle speed low from the DKC.
Oh, right, yeah.
Battle speed 5 Mist Dragon. That's just gross. But because that is a fairly speedy spot, if you've got the fight under control as he did, yeah, just suck it up and press forward on that. It's gonna be a long time no matter what. Don't add time to it by going back for it.
We're gonna see the swings coming out here as Palom, of course, needs to be the first to go down. Nightdew gonna get through this fight and fight pretty quickly, I can imagine. Now Elvensorrow has to get through this Crystal Sword altar. The boss at whom I have forgotten, I think it was Elements?
Asura.
Asura. I knew it was something that did not pose much of a threat either way.
Yeah. Yeah, like, she's a boss who at this spot, her threat's physical, so she can be spicy, but because all of her physicals are only counterattacks, she's the spicy that the store makes for grandmas. They're the grandma spicy. Unless you got a cool grandma. Like, I don't want to disturb anybody's grandma with good taste in food, but these stereotypical grandma spicy.
Yeah. Stereotypical grandma spicy are also like when you get the really spicy packets of sauce from Taco Bell. It's like you can just eat the taco. You don't have to have the sauce on it. You can make this taco safe, but if you want to have it spicy, you can have it spicy just by swinging away without getting those blinks up.
Yeah, or just straight berserking, and she'll go quite fast in response to you. So you can definitely make your taco spicier.
Now is a great time to explain in chat. We had a question of what is WST. That is Wyvern Standard Time, which is basically when you lower your battle speed to 6 in order to make sure that you can get a Star Veil out before that first Mega Nuke hits, because otherwise Wyvern's pretty much going to wipe your party in every single spot you can be in. So it's just sort of a shorthand for that strategy.
Yeah, and it's not necessary for every spot because sometimes you're just gonna outspeed them naturally, like a lot of early spots. A lot of spots you can run buffer out Star Veil, but battle speed 6 will pretty much always work. So you always want that. It's something you pretty much. It's a tool that is always available in your kit to deal with a Wyvern, and it's one that, most importantly, it does not come in a treasure box. It is something you always have available.
Alright. Nightdew has reached the Luca Cave, the sealed cave. I don't know why I call it the Luca Cave like it's her cave. It can be her cave if she wants it.
It's the Luca Cave.
Yeah.
She's a princess. She can have a cave if she wants.
Does avoid the rope of shame. Very, very important there. Not going down that extra tile and taking that climb down, at which point in time you are contractually obligated to check the treasure chest down there to make it look like you intended to go. Gonna just continue this walk down here.
Yeah, and like that, I fully maintain. If you hit the rope of shame, and you do not take the treasure chest of shame, or at least walk up and fist bump the treasure chest of shame, that, I think, asserting dominance over the treasure chest of shame by walking up to it and not even opening it, that would be the power move. But if you touch the rope of shame, you gotta go for the chest of shame.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said in those cases also for making your mistakes look intentional in order to avoid feeling bad about them later.
Oh, Baron's gonna be required, but I'm not sad to see that at all.
Yeah, Nightdew gonna walk out this Avenger. I'm kind of curious about that because I'm not sure I would walk out this Avenger at this point with all that Bacchus wine that he still has. I'm not sure it's quite gonna make up for the time spent.
Please
getting
look at
through
the
this.
objectives list.
Oh, right, to complete the sealed cave. Right, I knew I was forgetting something very important here. Thank you for reminding me.
and
that's why I'm not in this tournament.
Hey, you know what? In tournaments, we've got our track. If you're running the siege, you've got a little tracker that says if it's an objective or not too. So, or at least you usually do. I know there's some people who don't.
I mean, I have a tracker in front of me, and that didn't help me.
That's true. We're all literally looking at a tracker right now.
Again, shout-outs to Black Ice doing a wonderful job on the tracking. How's a good time to mention that and deflect from my own mistake there.
And see, that was your opportunity to act like, that you had meant to talk about the generalized comparative value of taking that there.
Exactly. I think if this weren't required, I would not take that Avenger.
Yeah, I think if it's not required, you feel bad resetting out of that because you want to keep the Avenger, but you can't. It's you know that's a mistake to do that.
Yeah, I also like to give a quick moment again too. This is also a good example of what I mean by owning your mistakes.
Yeah. And here, Elvensorrow is gonna make up some time from having already done that hook route. So he is about to get that Luca key. So he is hot on Nightdew's heels.
I think that's an interesting question, is if you have that Luca key, do you go down immediately if you're Elvensorrow? And while you're down there, do you do that Leviathan spot? And that could be a pretty big difference. We know that it might not work out that way, but adamant armor is adamant armor.
Yeah, like we'll see how he lands on the subject. Oh, Baron. That's very interesting because, we know that's going to be required. So, yeah.
Oh, Elvensorrow never went back for the Magus Sisters and doesn't have the Earth Crystal.
Oh, you're right. Oh, no.
I mean, this isn't going to play out the worst for him because we know that he's, no matter what, at this point in time, just based on the route he's taken through the seed, locked into completing every single thing available on the seed except for one of these Baron Castle bosses, and we don't know which ahead of time. So it's not like this is going to be a huge downside outside of losing that extra couple of moon cutscenes.
Yeah, like it sucks that he's gonna have to go back up for that. But yeah, like this check he's doing right now is gonna be required, so nothing wrong with taking that.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It could be a good reward from one of these as well, and that could make up some of the lost time here too. Nightdew, however, in the same spot is not what we really want to see on Elvensorrow's side.
Yeah. So our remaining two characters are Edward and Fu. It's far too late for even a spoon word in Adamant to be relevant. Fu becomes interesting as an option here, because Cursed Rings have made themselves available. Well, both runners pretty solidly committed to traditional anchoring strats, so, you know, a Fu with an adamant, with a Cursed Ring is a very, very nice anchor, and who carries more utility than a character who's been dead all seed.
Looks like both of our runners are going to go for that Odin spot first. I do want to mention that we were just mentioning that Anchor does get 13 levels onto that radio, which I don't think is going to be enough to like cause a huge downfall in the agility, but got to be careful about that to not let her get too many levels, and then I guess you could just pick up the one of the twins instead, but that would be another time sink.
Yeah, he's got spares to pick up, of course, but yeah.
True octopus royalty.
Yeah, hiding, ostracized by the people, unwilling to deal with just how royal and octopusy.
You know, there's a lot of sort of purple on the Octomam sprite, which is, of course, a very regal color to begin with, so, you know, really showing that monarchical quality. Does get white on Rosa on Nightdew's side to give an idea of how high these levels are getting on their own, and only getting the Dragoon Spear for it, meaning that we do have to go through the cutscene now.
Oh well, but frankly, it makes sense checking it first, just because of the situation.
I'm trying to think of what bosses are left in this seed at this point. Who's here?
Let's see.
I think we haven't seen Leg. We haven't seen Mylon Z. I think. We saw Elements, not Mylon Z. We haven't seen Odin.
Yeah, it could be Odin.
I think
that, I love that. I love that.
This king was two kings in a trench coat all along. That's the thing in that case, and just a jump up and spin. Is the jump up and spin is the actual Odin, and the one sitting on the throne is the horse.
Look, I mean, it is, you know, this is very much a post-medieval setting, but maybe this is a medieval-era castle, so it was built with the expectation that horses would be everywhere. And we do have a new bit of randomization that we are about to see. And it is a fellow scholar sprite and a towns lady.
I think that was a Sura sprite.
Oh, it could have been, yeah.
But here's that legend sword in the trash, because, you know, when you're in a post-medieval thing, you can throw out all your old legendary swords. You no longer need them. We didn't still have legendary swords when we moved into the industrial age. So...
yeah, we got cannons.
Exactly. Nightdew about to head to this forge, and we're about to see what we get here. I don't remember the forge settings on these flags all of a sudden.
They're just forge. Regular forge.
Just regular forge.
Yep.
That's a nice dart.
Yeah, I think Elvensorrow will actually benefit from having it. I don't think he's found anything better for the Cecil that way, so that will help him bring the seed home.
Well, it is shopping time to get a couple Zeus gauntlets, and the Avenger getting sold over on Nightdew's side, again, showing that he doesn't really need that at this point in time if he can get 2 Zeus gauntlets and just use Bacchus wine instead. So, gonna pop those Zeuses right onto Edge and Cecil here, and we're gonna see how quickly he can blast through this Zeroma's health very shortly here.
Yeah, giving that crystal ring to that Rosa, which always a great call for a For a Zeromus fight, you want Rosa to be taking as many turns as you can get out of her, just because, you know, if something goes south, you want her to be able to do something with that. And she's naturally a little bit pokey. And in this case, selling that Avenger too. There is the other key point. When you have the wines and you have a crystal sword, or frankly any type of sword, for the Avenger, even though you can glitch over top, and it'll still like treat you as that, I think it will use the Avenger's accuracy though. Like, I'm not 100%, but if it's using the Avenger's accuracy, you're taking a bit of a hit there.
However, in other questions, there is Z question mark. Shoutouts to Alchemy would do the thing, say the line.
Whose butt? But seriously, we're here to fight Zeromus, and it would be very disappointing if we fought something other than Zeromus at this spot, because this spot's made for Zeromus. But he's gonna throw out the welcome mat. Gonna put on a nice, cute outfit.
Yeah, you know, the lunar subterrane is in the end Zeromus' hole. It was made for him. So...
Oh my god. It really was, and, we'll see. We have so many sprites that Zeromus can randomize into. It's hundreds. One day we're gonna have over 1,000, I'm sure. We're not there yet. All butts are cute, so we know the butts are cute. But we're gonna see how cute it is. We're gonna know whose butt we're gonna kick tonight. This afternoon. Today. I don't wanna sing.
This is surprisingly photorealistic. I didn't know it was possible to make this look so sharp.
Yeah, I guess because it's not a really diverse palette, is probably why, just because you're not seeing too many colors on it. So it's, looks like this is actually the work of Boardface, not Scalakitty, and yeah, he did some great work, making that work.
This is definitely one of those metaphysical is there a butt questions, though. But also worth noting, Nightdew really just going to berserk here and just slice through this health very, very quickly. There are still possible things that could go wrong. A combo platter later is a combo platter later and can always trip you up if you get unlucky on it, but this probably is going to be a fairly smooth fight as long as that doesn't happen.
Yeah, like, you're going in here with, generally all of your parameters accounted for, like, so it's possible for things to go south just because there's RNG. Nothing is certain, but you're not expecting things to go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is one of those things where a lot of the Zeromus fights in this flag set, I don't want to take away from the tenseness of the Zeromus fight, because there are certainly ones, but a lot of it ends up being, you know, when you have power overwhelming, as is kind of the theory behind this flag set to begin with, it kind of turns out to be a question not so much of can you get through the Zeromus fight, but how quickly you can get through the Zeromus fight. And I think that's an interesting sort of twist on the formula for our tournament flags here, to see one that's more focused around efficiency as opposed to like the ability to get through something.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting angle for us to take. Meanwhile, elvensorrow finishing up that Lucan Cave, gonna have to vacate now. Medial phase from Nightdew, Victory Fireworks, and also, alternatively, I would say the sprite is a bot, because she's a bot. And that's a GG from Nightdew. Let's see here.
That is a 139.56 for Nightdew, a very, very good run, and I believe Nightdew is here to join us. GG's.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very nicely played overall. Any particular overall thoughts for you to start off with?
Cursing my hubris when I'm like, oh, I'm practically invincible. I don't need to save here in Zot. There's nothing that. Oh, hi, Wyvern.
I mean, who's among us has not been hit by that particular,
Well, I mean, the big thing is, I went ahead and I took Palom because I had seen Moonsparkles at both Baron and at the hook spot. So I'm thinking, okay, I actually need to, do a real attempt at actually anchoring this time around. Only to find out that the place where I actually needed the anchor was a fast anchor spot. So, well.
what can you do? Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yep. Other than that, I mean, it was kind of like, here, have your Hanzo immediately, and I mean, I was just going to fade ordeals as long as possible until Cecil actually showed up, and then I'm like, well, okay, I guess let's go to Emblem, have our 3 chance to find an Adamant or Holy Sword, find a Crystal Sword, and after that we're off to the races.
Yeah, like, absolutely. And, I have to say, I think it was really nice watching, just seeing you take a look at each new factor that the seed presented, and just going, yep, I know what to do with that, and just adapting and making your your decisions on where to go, and just having a very smooth route all through.
I mean, it kind of did play out a little bit. It was a little reactionary this time around. The surprise pan after the defense after you've already walked down to Sheila 1. I mean, you can't really stop that. It's it's a 1 in 28 there. But I mean, other than that, I'm other than the hey, let's not save it, Sod. I'm actually really happy at what I did there. Ooh, 50 treasures. I missed that.
Yeah, nice low count on that. Did you feel any particular crunch on that loot, or is that number feeling good for you there?
Especially with the party we had and the stuff. I mean, we had the Stardust Rod, and I really kind of wanted to use it, but then I was just looking at it, and I'm like, well, we have an Adamant sometime, we have a Crystal Sword, we've got Hanzo. Yeah, there's really no reason to open any other boxes at this point.
Yeah, I really feel like this flood set does that a lot. It'll just front load you a big pile of junk and go, hey, here's some good stuff. Go crazy.
I mean, other than that, yeah, just really good, and kind of happy about that C-buy. I thought about just kind of going up and finding another character like up on the moon, which would have worked because I'm pretty sure that was Porum, and yeah, that would have worked too. But I kind of wanted to hedge my best to just kind of actually get my anchor in place because Kane really wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, this was not a good seed for Kane. Like, I saw like a defense sword like in the shop at the end, but he didn't really have anything before that. I don't think. A couple spears you might have run into, but
Yeah, I was more than happy to bin him at the end there, but yeah, that's I mean, good start to this, and I've been watching the heck out of Free Enterprise again, and yeah, the fun event so far.
Yeah, it is really nice getting back into it. I'm really happy to see you back playing, and I think solid performance for first race in I guess a while. And when's your next match looking at?
Schedule those. Actually, I do need to check the schedule. We have 2 down. Actually, that was my second race there.
Oh, your second race.
Yep. That one wasn't on restream, but yeah, we're other matches here are pending, so we'll just get those on the schedule as soon as we can. Actually.
Fair enough.
Yep.
And sort of on that note, is there any of your future matches that you're particularly looking forward to out of your group here?
Well, our Aegis Shield kind of grouped up into we had exactly 3 kind of veterans, shall we say, and 3 and I cannot talk today, but yeah, 3 veterans and 3 kind of newbies here, and I kind of went through them. I believe right now, though, I would say if there is one I really want to get to here, I believe it's Cyrac there.
Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be a good one.
I get back up to that.
Yeah, I've heard some people not remembering his name or not knowing it. If you don't know Zyrak, that's gonna be one to watch. I guess he hasn't been around for a while, but when he's on his game, if he's back in form, he's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking forward. Definitely looking forward to hearing from Vitasia as well.
Yeah.
Love the commentary there, but yeah, it's definitely good to get back into it.
Yeah, good to see you, and please tell your kitty I love him.
She's right here. I will
Yes,
give
sir.
pets for you right now. There you go.
Excellent.
And now you're mad at me for trying to wake you up.
As is.
Yes.
Well, did you have any final thoughts for us today on this very, very well-run race today?
Kind of weird. I don't really see Crystal Sword Cecils, even though they're everywhere, so it was kind of nice having one for once. So, yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, I wish I got more of them too, but I think other people hog them.
Yep. Other than that, I'm just looking forward to the next race, and especially more today. I'm sure we have plenty more here.
Oh yeah, we have a very full day of races. We're the first restream of 4, so.
Well, thank you for all your work here. Thank you for the staff who makes all this possible, and again, wishing everybody a very fun tournament here.
Thank you very much, and again, GG's to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, and GG. Meanwhile, Elvensorrow is just finishing up with those Mega Sisters. A little having been bitten by opting to fade it, but, you know, I can't really begrudge him for having made the choice to. Especially when you're starting to feel behind, you have to look for things you can cut out of having to do, and it just fell out, with the wrong, it just fell out in a way that didn't work out.
Yeah, I do want to give real shout outs to elvensorrow on just a very well-run race that didn't shake out in his favor. And that's just kind of how it goes sometimes, is, I think if he'd have done a bit more looting, then this might be a little bit of a different story, because he would have found that crystal sword if he'd have gone to castle level. And I think that was the real tipping point in this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's a lot of why I have those mixed feelings about Emlan. I feel like it just takes so long, but it pays off so often. Every time I go there, I hate it, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, the thing about looting in this game is that there's 2 different ways you can think about it. You can either be like, well, looting is great. I enjoy getting good stuff. And you can also be like, I don't want to loot. I want to go fast. Looting isn't going fast, but sometimes you just need that loot to go fast. And this race has been a very good example of that. Although, elvensorrow has been going plenty fast without it now that his route is sort of shaken out into the right direction.
Yeah. And yeah, again, I cannot emphasize enough. I do like the decisions that he's made for just the situations that he's encountered. And really, when it comes down to questions of which specific chests of relatively equal value do I open that are both relatively similar time cost to open, there's not a right or wrong answer. He picked the ones that took him on a different direction that just was less optimal for the scene. But they were, cannot complain about his decision making here.
Yeah, I think there's a world where if you just give both these runners different seeds, or a different seed, and they make the same decisions that they made in this race, that elvensorrow wins. That's just how this one has gone here.
Yeah. If you look at, their fight handling, they're both, very good at cleaning out these fights. And of making use of the tools that they've found for combat. Like, don't let the time disparity lead you to think that there's less skill going on here, because frankly, I think we've seen some, quite a high level of play out of Elvensorrow here.
Absolutely, it just makes me more excited to see the rest of the tournament. Of course, we do have a full slate of matches today. I'll give a bit more information on that when we're looking to head off after Elvensorrow's through this. But, it's, if you're really interested and invested in this flag set, which I am, I'll be honest, when I first saw the flags and read them, I was not sure I was going to like it. And now that we're actually in it, I'm like, this is one of my favorite flag sets I've seen. So definitely make sure that you're sticking with us for more.
Yeah, like, it's a flag set that I like to call popcorn. You get a lot of it, like popcorn, and it's never too hard. It's never throwing too many challenges at you. It's never throwing stuff at you that you can't take. It's very fun. You have enough power to deal with whatever. You may not be able to deal with it the way that you would prefer in a given seed. But yes, this is absolutely a flag set calculated for full 17 to 17s wherever possible. Yeah, just how it goes.
And I think that's really like an interesting comparison point to ZZ4 in particular, because ZZ4 was very much a you do not have power where you want to have power kind of flag set, and it was also a, you got to get the right objectives and just make those right decisions and find the right things, whereas this one is a bit more execution heavy and a bit more looting decisions heavy and is a bit more routing heavy. And I think that's kind of a really interesting contrast and really shows the diversity that you can have in this randomizer between different flag sets, as Elvensorrow is going to sail right through this wyvern here.
Yeah, and again, like we said at the start too, like, it will really show how small decisions early on can just have radically different results. I do believe that is seamlessly through that wyvern. Very nice.
Yeah, to just manage to get that Moonveil off right away. I don't think that he'd slowed his battle speed down, because obviously he hadn't seen it yet. So just very, very quick reaction time there.
Yeah, that's a good show of why you especially want fast anchors for overworld checks, even on an advanced overworld check like Zot. If you could outpace the spot agility-wise, you can just clean it out and not have to worry. And you'll just straight up be able to get your Starveil off.
And that is 7 out of 7 objectives complete. Crystal in hand for Elvensorrow. Another 17 out of 17. He's going to be on his way to his Aromas fight. Not really as far behind as it almost felt like he was seeming at several points in time in the seed. So did some good work getting a little bit of catch up here and there. So definitely good on him. Going to set to battle speed 2. Just move around his characters here to get that Rydia into that center spot, I think. And we'll be good to go.
Just, yeah, getting that set up there.
Wanting to put that Rosa right in that second slot there, because the way, of course, that order works out in terms of the order your party moves, that is actually the 4th spot. So once that Rosa to go last, deal with any counter nukes after throwing a possible Silk Web early on, and that will get through pretty quickly there.
Yes, absolutely. And oop. I'm sorry, my helpful co-commentator here is chewing on things she shouldn't. My hidden co-commentator, not you. You're not chewing on things.
Maybe.
I mean,
no, I'm absentmindedly playing with an old phone case instead while waiting for this couple of cutscenes here. A little bit of flight time that we have to wait through before we can get into Elvensorrow's fight here.
that's an elastic. But don't you're gonna snap from this.
Well, while we're getting into this fight, it's probably worth noting that this is going to be a little bit of a longer fight, probably, because we don't have that crystal sword on that Cecil. I believe probably has the Excalibur yet.
Yeah.
Does have the Avenger, though, so that'll at least, deal with Black Hole if it happens. Means he won't get knocked out of Berserk for too long, although I'm not sure that's going to be a issue here. I'm not sure we'll get to that point in the script here.
Yeah, I think we easily clear out this fight. Like, Xcal is demonstrably weaker than Crystal Sword, but don't really matter that much. Not in this fight, anyway.
It's kind of varying degrees of on fire at the moment. It's like, yeah, there is severity in fire, but, it's still on fire.
Yes. Very nicely using that Redia's few moments alive to heal up that edge from the counter nuke. And from here we just hold on Rosa and let we'll drop a heal when the Big Bang comes.
Here's the question: after this Big Bang, do you just go for Tri-Berserkers and just go for it?
No, not with an anchor situation. And not with an Xcal on the Cecil. If I've got a crystal on him, maybe. But largely, I am expecting to see an additional Big Bang. I'm also not, but the other thing too is there's also no need to nerf it either, so you can just let your boys go.
Yeah, not even bothering to swing with this Rosa. Doesn't want to take up the animation time of her swinging, because I don't think that she has particularly good gear worth noting. So just gonna keep sitting here waiting for these swings to go off.
Yeah, and frankly, in a less than a full party Zerk, frankly, generally the best thing you can do is get your just hover on your healer's thing, so that you can just buffer your heal into the Big Bang, so it gets in immediately into the queue.
Yeah, very good and very important for mitigating the possibility that combo platter causing problems, which it is not going to, as elvensorrow crossing the finish line 157.57. GG's to him.
Yeah, very nicely done. GG. Bitten badly in a couple spots, but again, I don't think they were all perfect. I think excellent choices for the seed that he encountered.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think this is just another one of those situations where you give a different seed and we have a different outcome. But we are joined by elvensorrow. GG's on the race today.
Not hearing you. You're letting up green, but we're not hearing you.
How about now?
There we go.
I forgot to turn my mixer on. Yeah, thanks for the GG.
Yeah, very nicely done. Like I really liked your overall play. Just you just made slightly different decisions and then just played well to them.
Yeah, I think probably my best decision was doing the Battle Speed 6 demist at the Masa altar with not a lot of power. That was probably my best decision.
We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect.
But that's part of the I play a lot of lit 3s, and I think my stubbornness kicked in. I'm like, I can get through. I'm not gonna reset. I can get through this.
Yeah, but you know what? Once you're in it far enough, the fight's long enough no matter what. I don't think it pays to reset and restart that fight. Even on a better battle speed. Like, you don't want to be in it at that speed in the first place, but go forward for it.
Yeah, I think one thing, and I knew it was gonna happen. I went to the moon, knowing that I left the Leviathan spot, which wasn't that bad, but I didn't want to take it at the first round.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. If I had that adamant armor, that probably would have sped up my moon quite a bit more. Because that moon, a couple fights were pretty fine, but overall my moon was pretty slow.
Not too bad overall. Like, I think your moon probably took a similar amount of time to go through as Nightdew's. I would not need to look at actual numbers to be sure, but the actual fights, the way they were set up, I think you actually went through it at a comparable speed. Some things went better, some things went worse, because Miss Dragon gonna Miss Dragon. That's not a fast fight for anybody, no matter what.
Yeah, and then I was also banking on. I'm like, cool, I have a Cecil. Oh, I have a Adamant and Excal as a reward. I'll get that any minute now, right? Guess who didn't get that right away? No,
Yeah.
not me. I probably maybe should have done some trap chests, but I did the lunar or the hair dryers, but that just gave me a ribbon, I think it was.
Yeah, and normally I like to play with the hair dryers. It does pay off a whole lot of the time. Just this time, it wasn't it.
Yeah, and that one too. If you can get up there, even if you just have a hair dryer, it's good experience. It's basically a free siren.
Yeah.
And then plus potentially a really strong item.
Yeah, no, it is, in theory, it's a fantastic play. And that's the thing, I think in theory, this seed went great for you. In practice, it didn't work out. Because, I honestly, I really like how you played throughout. It just how it goes this time.
Yeah, I felt pretty good, other than I think I probably went down the hook route a little too early, because I did take a wipe it Beigen, and it's like, I didn't really have to, but my whole thing was like, oh, I can just drop right there and go to the tower. But that felt a little slow. I think I was just going into things a little too underpowered when I probably could have easily powered myself up, because I think I bought like 10 sirens. I could have just used those.
Yeah, I think if anything's gonna be your big takeaway from that, I think, just more power.
Also, it's Nightdew, so I'm like, oh man, I gotta go as fast as possible because it's Nightdew.
Yeah.
But sometimes you go a little too fast.
Yeah, and that's so easy to do. You go up against somebody who is really good, but most importantly, is not so good that you think it's impossible. So then you just go, whoops.
Yeah, I was that was the main thing. I didn't really have any troubles, a whole lot of troubles. I think I just was a little underpowered, and that's what really slowed me down.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have taken a little more time to power up, maybe look for some better items, you know what I mean? But especially when I started with that Mura and I think a middle sword for edge, I'm like, let's just go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just sort of on the note of the tournament and like that, are there any of this was, your first match so far in a, 5, I believe, in your group particularly. Is there any of those remaining matches in your group that you're particularly looking forward to?
Honestly, I'm looking forward to all of them because I haven't raced. I don't think I've raced Vitasia. I don't think I've raced Zyrak, and I know they're both very good runners. I've Beauty and Discovery's in there. I've raced them. They're a phenomenal runner as well. And I got Tall Grant in there too. There's none in particular I'm really looking forward to, except unless I can say all of them.
That's a perfectly reasonable answer.
Yeah, and they're all great runners. I know some of them better than others. And you know some of the ones that I don't. I think it's gonna be. There's some really exciting matchups coming up for you. Do you have your next one planned out yet?
Yeah, my next one is going to be on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and that's against Beauty and Discovery. As far as that, I think next week, me and Tall Grant are tentatively looking for Tuesday, but the other two I haven't got scheduled yet.
Fair enough. We'll have to keep an eye out for you on Friday then, and good luck with that race.
Yeah, thank you. I need all the luck I can get after this one because I felt like I got no luck on this one.
You know, the way it works, that just means you'll get all the luck on those other ones, so.
See, I even did a practice seed before this race today, and I was like, man, this is like the worst seed ever. Surely I burned up all my bad luck, right? No.
Sure. Yeah, that's how it works. Please let it work that way.
So, did you have any final thoughts for us today?
Not really, other than what I've already said. I really had fun, even though I kind of got destroyed there. I really had fun. The only part I didn't have fun was that D-miss. So I'm like, the whole time I'm like, I'm gonna lose. But I had so much fun overall because for a while I'm like, oh, this is a bad mistake, and I'm like, oh, there's something good. I'm like, oh, this is a bad mistake. Oh, there's something good, and I kept thinking I was in or out. But D-miss after D-miss, I'm like, I'm done. That's how it felt anyway. But then unfortunately too, I had to check the music, but unfortunately that was a womp too. And I know Possum's leaning over my ear right now saying, told you to fade harp.
Look, you know, it made sense to check it. And you know what? You're always glad when someone checks harp.
Didn't I do
just not today.
Didn't I do check harp?
No.
See, that's why I lost. That's why I lost by 18 minutes, because that 18-minute harp check.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Sometimes the music's just that good.
No, that's actually because it's the fault of Zelda music.
Yeah, see, I'm also like I check the harp pretty much every seed, especially now with all the new songs from Xenocat. So can I hear some of these new ones?
Yeah, so all of these incredible new songs in the pool, and it's a Link to the Past song. That is the reason. Perfect. Now we know why.
Yeah, you said final thoughts, and like I said, I had a lot of fun, except for that D-mist. Thank you all for putting it on, Anthony Andre, Scala, Black Ice, everyone else involved. I know there's a lot of people involved, but thank you all so much for that. Like, couldn't do this without you, you know?
And thank you for coming up on Restream, coming in for the interview, and yeah, absolutely GG. Like it was really well played. A slightly different set of circumstances, a slightly different set of treasure chests, and I think you have the seed.
Yeah, I mean, I play to win, but ultimately I just play to have fun. So if I lose, I lose. No big deal.
Absolutely. And I think that, that's the best attitude for you to take. Nobody likes losing, but, you come in to have fun playing video games, and we're all having fun playing video games.
Yeah, if I didn't have fun playing this, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you all. Unless you have another question, I think we can probably wrap this up.
Absolutely not. GG's, and thank you very much again.
All right, thank you, everyone. Everyone involved, thank you all so much. I always appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, and GG.
Well, I think that's going to about wrap us up for today. If you enjoyed today's race, know that there are 3 more today's races coming up later. All these times are going to be Eastern time that I'm about to read out here. At 7:30 on the RPG Limit Break channel, we have Judge Joe versus Poydrak. On 8 o'clock on the Free Enterprise channel, right here, we have Dragus versus Nitsi. And on Free Enterprise 2 at 9 p.m., we have Tybalt versus Silverfire. All 3 very exciting races to watch. I'm looking forward to all of them. And I think that's going to be about it for us today.
Yeah, so until 7:30 p.m. Eastern, thank you all for watching. Thanks to Inth, thanks to Black Ice, thanks to Scala, thanks to all of you for coming out and watching. Thanks Nightdew and elvensorrow. I believe we're gonna be heading over to Gambit, who is currently practicing.
Yep, and he is playing the seed from McBain versus Zeke Highwind yesterday, so if you saw that race, no spoilers. And if you are looking forward to watching that race, you might want to consider... I don't think that one was restreamed, so that might be a bit difficult to rewatch, but either way, it's going to be very interesting to see, so looking forward to it.
Yes, always love seeing people play other seeds, and of course, no spoilers about this race. Remember, Scala restreamed this one, so she's here. She's looming over us all with a newspaper. Send help!
Have a good afternoon, everyone.